So I want to tell you guys a story, one that honestly is a little bit hard to tell because it happened to a very, very close friend of mine, and unfortunately, it is one that I keep hearing firsthand accounts of over and over again. So my friend is here in SoCal, he's going surfing, so he loads up his 2022 Tacoma TRD off-road with his boards and everything and parks at the beach. Now, when you're surfing or just going out on the water or going to the beach, there is always this issue of where to put your key because obviously electronics and water do not mix. So he follows his normal procedure of getting his boards out, waxing them, putting his wetsuit on and everything, and when he's finally ready to head out, he takes this key and the lockbox that he's been using for years and locks up this key inside. It's one of those lock boxes with, those 4 PIN code digit things. It's like what a lot of Airbnbs use and everything. But anyways, he locks up his Tacoma key fob in there and then attaches that lockbox to his tow hitch. So then he goes out in the water for a few hours, and when he comes back, he sees another vehicle parked where he thought he parked his Tacoma. So he's pretty confused at first, but then he quickly realizes his Tacoma is gone. Now, hindsight, what we think happened is that the thieves cut the lockbox off of his tow hitch receiver and then brought that lockbox very close to the driver's side door. And with these keyless entry Tacomas, you can actually completely unlock the doors and with the push to start the truck with just having the key in close proximity. So they didn't even need to open the lockbox. They just utilized that keyless entry to unlock, then consequently start the truck, we think. To this day, we have never been able to find his Tacoma despite posting it and blasting it on social media, calling the police to locate a white TRD off-road Tacoma. It was worth a shot, but as some would tell me blatantly, pointless, because by the time he got back to his truck, it likely was already across the border since we live in San Diego. That, and also literally try driving down any street here in San Diego and not seeing a white Tacoma either parked on the side, passing you, in front of you, or behind you. They are everywhere, and I'm not even exaggerating. Now, unfortunately, this is a story I have been hearing over and over again, first-hand account from real people. Toyota Tacomas are getting stolen.
Dozens of Toyota Tacomas stolen
and walked out the door to find their 2021 Toyota Tacoma missing.
And this whole issue expands beyond people just stealing the entire vehicles themselves. What's actually more rampant is that bad people are stealing lots of different parts off of Toyota Tacomas.
Many San Diego Toyota owners are dealing with tire theft.
TRD wheels and tires being stolen across the county. Tacoma tailgates were being targeted for theft.
And I truly thought this was really just a COVID issue because back then, there were very weird, lax restrictions. Everybody was really distracted. So these people with nefarious intentions, would take advantage of those times of vulnerabilities and stealing a lot of vehicles in general. So maybe it's slowed down by now, but nope. Still, for 2024, Tacomas made the list of the top 10 most stolen vehicles in California, according to the NICB, which we will get into California in particular later. And various police communities have announced these waves of Tacomas and Tacoma parts just getting targeted. This is a real problem to this day. And, I was a little hesitant at first about making a video like this as my audience is largely based, if not completely based, of Tacoma owners. I'm not trying to scare people or really make the issue worse than what it already is by exploiting the vulnerabilities in this video of the Tacoma that I think make them a top target for thieves. But this is all over the news in my area, and I also think it's important to make people aware of the subject at least, and also I will be sharing some products and methodologies of ways you can keep, and ways I keep, my own Toyota Tacoma more theft deterrent. Okay, so you heard my story, or really my friend's story, and unfortunately, again, this is not the first that I have heard about Tacomas getting stolen from people that I know firsthand. So the fact of the matter is that the Tacoma in general is a very hot commodity for thieves, but I think particularly the Generation 3 Tacoma is really the most targeted. There's a lot of them out there. They are very popular. And also, I think there are some features about it that make them easy to steal. I mean, it's not as bad as the Kias or Hyundais you guys have been seeing the last couple of years that don't have engine immobilizers that I think now are the #1 vehicles that have gotten stolen thanks to TikTok. And the other thing is, I know a lot of you guys are going to mention my area, San Diego, or really California in general, is the reason that Tacoma thefts are so prevalent. And to that I say, yes, I do think that plays a very, very big role in this subject. In San Diego, I was not kidding about literally driving down the street and not seeing like a silver or a white Tacoma pass you, because they are prevalent. They are just everywhere. So it's easy for a stolen Tacoma to stay covert because it really just blends in. That and our proximity to the Mexican border does not help. And California itself, let's just say, it is a very interesting state when it comes to the topics of crime and theft. There's a lot of issues here, but that is for, another video, another time. So yes, well, you could just tell me, just move out of state, or this is just really a problem in your area. I'm not denying that, but that solution alone isn't very practical. I mean, there's a lot of people here like me who have families here, jobs here. It also doesn't change the fact that really wherever you are, the 3rd gen Tacoma has a pretty high resale value, at least compared to other vehicles out there. So thieves can turn around a pretty quick profit on one. But again, I think it has kind of some characteristics or weak points that make it a target. Okay, so what are those weak points? Well, the first one I'm going to talk about is what's called a relay attack. So again, you got your key here. It's an electronic fob that works as I described it in the beginning of this video. Unless you have an SR5 or manual that needs a physical key to start the truck, again, you can really just keep this key in your pocket, not only to enter the truck, but also start it. So what these bad people do is that they know these key fobs are sending out signals all the time to let the truck know that it's nearby. That's just how they work. They can use these devices to actually sniff out this signal and then amplify it to make the truck think that that is the key. And then of course they have access to your truck. So even if your key is inside your house, if it's close enough, thieves can actually capture that signal. Okay, so what a lot of people do is they will actually keep their key fobs in what's called a Faraday pouch, and that will physically block the electromagnetic signals, and that of course prevents this from happening. But I think the easier and more economical way that is accessible for anybody to do without any extra things is to just utilize the battery saving function of this key, i.e. turn it off when you're not using it. That way it's not emitting any signals at all, which is what I do. This is very simple to do. Hold the lock button and then press the unlock button twice, and now your key fob is off. You can press any button to turn it back on and subsequently lock or unlock your truck. So that is one creative way, if you want to even call it that people have been stealing Tacomas and other vehicles in general. But let's talk about some more common occurrences. More often, it's actually a lot easier, of course, for people to steal things off vehicles like wheels. It's actually really funny because San Diego has this problem with people stealing the TRD wheels in general, which it's not funny, but it makes me laugh because I have had a set of those wheels, and yes, I love the way they look, but they're not like a rarity or an over-the-top expensive or exclusive item. I mean, it's pretty common to see them on a lot of rigs here in San Diego, but it's true. People literally target vehicles with them on there, and I have unfortunately seen coming out of my own neighborhood 4Runners and Tacomas on cinder blocks. But particularly for the Tacoma is stealing a tailgate. So the tailgates in the 3rd generation Tacomas are very, very easy to remove yourself. You don't need any special tools. So if your tailgate is up and it's locked, you're good. Otherwise, if it is unlocked or it's already down, anybody could remove one in about 1 minute. Now, these tailgates have very high resale value, and unfortunately, if you get yours stolen, they are very expensive to replace. I think that partially has to do with some of the electronics inside, including the backup camera that is embedded into the handle. I fortunately haven't had mine stolen or needed to be replaced, but I have heard stories of how expensive they are. Now, what you can do to mitigate theft if you accidentally leave your tailgate unlocked or you leave it down is simply take a hose clamp and put that around the hinge. Now, it's not completely theft proof, but it would take a thief an extra step, or somebody who's trying to remove the tailgate, an extra step to remove to get the tailgate off. You could go a step further and do what I've done, which is get a custom metal bracket made. I got it paint matched the color of my truck, so it looks pretty covert, and I used a security bolt. It sits nice and flush to actually install that bracket in, and it functions the same way as the hose clamp does. Basically, you have to take it off in order to remove the tailgate off of the hinge. It's just an extra step. That way I can still remove my tailgate if I ever wanted to, but it would take somebody an extra step and much longer and the right bit in order to remove my tailgate. Again, none of these are foolproof, but the hope is that it would either take a thief longer and they could potentially get caught, or they might just see it as more work and walk away, move to another truck. So of course, my big recommendation here is to always do your best to keep your tailgate up and locked. Sounds very simple, but in the case of like my 2019 Tacoma over here, the tailgate was on, not the electronic key fob. You manually had to lock and unlock it. So I was fine most of the time, but it was a little bit annoying to remember. It is much nicer if your tailgate automatically locks and unlocks with the rest of your doors on your key fob. So what I did in this Tacoma was installed a pop and lock. Pretty simple to do. I've also in the past installed a similar locking device from Running for Tacos. That thing is great. I have videos on both of them, and I'll have the devices actually linked down below if you're interested and your truck behaves the same way. Now, the other thing I want to highlight that the bad people like to steal on these Toyota Tacomas are the good old catalytic converters. Now, this issue definitely started skyrocketing during COVID when the price of precious metals, which is what the catalytic converters contain, also skyrocketed, but it is still a big problem today. Tacomas are a very easy target because not only are the cats exposed, but also if you just think about it, these are off-road oriented vehicles, right? So from the factory, they are pretty high off the ground, which makes it easy for anybody without any tools to get under them. And I'm sure the thieves love that, considering the story I saw of this one genius who was trying to steal the catalytic converter off of a Prius and the jack fell on him. So anyways, to mitigate this, I would recommend a cat shield. Now, I have a heavy duty one on my 2019 Tacoma from Miller Cat that I love, and that will also be linked. This thing also doubles as a skid plate, which is a bonus for all of my off-road adventures, and it has these flush security bolts. So yeah, I don't want to say it's impossible to get to the cats, but it would certainly take a lot of time for a thief to remove it. There's other shield options out there, like I know Cali Ray's LED makes some. Pop and Lock actually makes this thing called the cat wrap, I believe. Not a shield, but just, it looks like some sort of security wire situation that allows the cats to not be cut off. I think the shield is a little bit cleaner, and I like Cat Shield in particular because it's an AAP product from Toyota, so you could technically buy it from a dealership, get a warranty on that, and all the fun things, although I was able to easily install it myself. The last thing I want to mention is that I think it is a wise idea to install a dash cam. You might just think, dash cam's good for driving, but not much else. But if you have a dash cam running when your truck is parked, that can be also really, really valuable to see what's going on. As for the Tacoma, there is this really, really cool product. It truly is one of my favorite products on my trucks. It's called the Dongar Pro, and it's essentially a wiring adapter that allows you to use your dash cam even if it doesn't have a parking mode feature while it's parked. So basically it's all plug and play into the factory wiring, so you don't have to cut anything. You could theoretically remove it anytime you wanted and it wouldn't change anything about your truck. But anyways, it provides power to your truck's dash cam while it's parked. So when you switch it to the time mode, it will provide power to your dash cam for up to 4 hours after the truck is off. Or if you switch it to the continuous mode, it'll provide power to the dash cam indefinitely until it senses that your voltage is below the safety threshold, in which case it will turn itself off to not kill your battery. It is quite an amazing invention. Again, I just like having a dash cam on my vehicle running at all times. It's really nice that I now have the ability to have one safely run when I'm parked as well. I mean, it can be really useful. Like, I went to this truck meet recently and I talked to a guy who was super bummed out. I felt so bad for him because his truck was there, but it kind of looked a little bit haphazard. Like, he had ditch light brackets on, but the lights were actually gone. And he had told me that the night before the meet, somebody throughout the night at his apartment complex, even though they have security and everything, actually unbolted the lights and I think took his light bars and a couple other accessories that he had on the truck and cut the wires. So that really sucks. But if he had maybe a dash cam running while the car was parked, maybe he could at least see what's going on, have some extra evidence, you know? He could have caught the incident on camera. So despite all of these things and mitigations that I suggested in this video, unfortunately, this is still going to be a problem, and there is no 100% true way to prevent your Tacoma or Tacoma's parts from getting stolen. I mean, it's just, you really can't change a determined person with a sick mind. But you can slow them down. You can put things in place to make it take longer for them to steal these things, or make them make the decision that, yeah, this is not worth it. I'm gonna move on. I really hope this video helps, and if you have a story about your Tacoma or parts getting stolen off of it, first off, so sorry that happened to you, but definitely, if you're comfortable, share it in the comment section down below so that we can keep coming up with more ways to prevent this from happening to other owners out there. I'm also working on a video and really a project right now where I want to install a kill switch inside of my 2019 Tacoma that I hope will work for any third gen Tacoma that I want to share. However, I am running into some problems with just how I've designed it, so still working through that, but eventually there will be a video on how to make a kill switch for your truck, which will be yet another security measure. Anyways, stay safe out there, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.